All right, we're going to take a look at it. And again, Jim Schwartz has been with the Eagles, with the Titans, with the Bills. So we're going to see some of all of those teams in these clips that we're going to look at. The first one you mentioned, kind of setting the edge, and there you see just how wide they are. Does a couple of things, creates some one-on-one matchups too, but take us through what this does in these two clips that we're going to look at here.
Well, the two things you have, first thing everybody's been talking about is setting the edge and a great angle it's going to give Myles Garrett on a pass rush. I'd like to bring up something that concerns me a little bit as well in terms of those defensive tackles. With those defensive ends being so wide, those offensive guards and tackles now have free reign at those defensive tackles. So in terms of fighting those double teams, which they really struggled with this year, this defensive scheme is actually worse for their defensive tackles until they learn how to play those double teams. However, out of the defensive end, like you said, it sets the edge. It creates a great angle. Schwartz is so good at creating matchups. So at times, he's not only going to create that edge for a wide rusher, but he's going to walk backers up in A-gap. He's going to walk backers up in B-gap. He's going to make sure those defensive ends get a one-on-one. Sometimes those defensive tackles get a one-on-one. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Myles Garrett on past situations go down to the guard a little bit more as well.
And all right, we've talked about it a little bit, so that those wide defensive ends, they can help defensive tackles. They can also hurt them. In this next clip that we're going to take a look at, talk a little bit about that. And here you see kind of they're getting one-on-ones. You got to win one-on-ones in this defensive alignment.
Well, yeah, so here's what you're going to see, a great pass rush here. And the reason you get it is because you get those wide ends and that guard is isolated. The center is going to slide left. So by sliding left, that right guard is going to be a one-on-one situation. But when you get back to the beginning of the play, if it's a run play, the thing that makes it tough is those guards are all by themselves. Those defensive tackles are all by themselves with those guards and those tackles. So in terms of a double team, they get on those double teams really, really heavy. Even more than what they did this year, because they're not covering that tackle at all. The second thing it does, if those defensive tackles are by themselves and the defensive ends are wide, it allows those offensive tackles to sometimes run right to the second level. So we always try to get our hands on, or the term I like to use is heavy, in terms of trying to get our hands on those offensive tackles so they can't get to the double team or can't get to the second level. So those are adjustments the Browns, Schwartz, and that whole defensive staff is going to have to come up with in terms of what they struggled with this year.